Well, let's get started with today's Training Bite session. If you have any questions during the session, just feel free to enter them in the chat window on your RingCentral toolbar. We'll have a Q&A at the end and I'll answer any questions that you have. My name is Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager here at C&K Systems and your hostess for Training Bites, a digestible approach to Counterpoint training. So by default, with your Counterpoint install, you probably don't have enough fields to fill out information about the item. The same with customer records, the default fields, there might not be enough. Like for example, the default fields on a customer record don't come with, a space to capture a birthday or an anniversary or a favorite vendor. And although miscellaneous charges do come with Counterpoint, they do have to be enabled, so they're not automatically set up to track charges like shipping or gift wrap or alterations. So there are some lost opportunity in reporting for item sales if you don't use the profiles and attributes. And the same is true with customers. There's some lost reporting opportunities and analysis and marketing if you don't enable some profiles. And miscellaneous charges, if you only enter or enable one, but you're collecting charges for gift wrap, shipping, alterations, you can't get a good feel of how much you're collecting for each one unless you enable those separately. So I'm going to show you how to do all that during today's session. We're going to learn about inventory profiles and attributes. We're going to learn about customer profiles, and we're going to learn how to enable miscellaneous charges in purchasing and point of sale. So enabling profiles is really easy. Setup, system, quick setup, and then items. This is the first one I'm going to talk about. Click on the items tab. There are 20 profile fields here. 5 code profiles, 5 alphanumeric, 5 date, and 5 numeric. Now I really like the code profiles a lot because once you enable the profile, you can actually click on codes and create a list for users to select from. So the data entry tends to be really consistent. Alphanumeric profiles are free-form, so you enable the profile and the user that is filling out that particular profile can just free type in that field. So that might lead to some inconsistent data entry. Date profiles use day, month, year, and numeric profiles are treated as kind of money. So when you put a value in the numeric field, Counterpoint will automatically put a decimal behind the number followed by some zeros. Another nice thing about using profiles is that when you enable a profile on an item record, whether it's code, date, alphanumeric, or numeric, Counterpoint automatically creates a sales report specific to that profile under Sales Analysis by Group. The same is true with item attributes. Item attributes are kind of like the code profile in the sense that you enable it, give it a label, and then under codes, you can develop a list of attributes to select from. And again, when you enable the item attribute behind the scenes, Counterpoint's creating a sales report specific to that item attribute. When you do enable the item attributes and you look at the item record, if you come to the description tab, you'll see your enabled attributes down here at the bottom. And when you enable profiles, you'll have a new tab called Profiles when you look at your items. For customers, it's the same place. Setup, System, Quick Setup, but this time you'll click on the Customer tab. Same thing, 5 code profiles, 5 alphanumeric, 5 date profiles, 5 numeric profiles, and they all behave the same. You enable the profile. With a code profile, you can develop a list. The alphanumeric are free form. The dates require day, month, year, or month, day, year, and the numerics are treated like money. In purchasing, setup, system, quick setup, purchasing, these profile fields are for the vendor record, and they behave the same way as they do with customers and items, except When you enable the profiles here, there's no extra reporting like there is with enabling the profiles with items and customers. So those profiles automatically show up in a sales selection for sales reporting. Miscellaneous charges. Now, miscellaneous charges you can enable, give it a label, and you'll have to select an account. Now, if you're integrated to an accounting program, you want to select the proper account that represents that miscellaneous charge. If you aren't integrated to an accounting program, you still have to pick an account. It's just something Counterpoint's going to require, but it doesn't matter which one you pick. When you enable miscellaneous charges, you'll notice that when you go to create a purchase request, or you go to receive, or you go to create a purchase adjustment, you'll have this new tab called miscellaneous charges. Now, when you enable the miscellaneous charges, Counterpoint does automatically enable those statements or those charges in setup purchasing control. However, what it doesn't do is it doesn't enable this switch called include in cost. Include in cost needs to be manually enabled, and what it allows you to do is to tell Counterpoint, this miscellaneous charge, I want you to roll it up into the cost of the items. Now, that does not affect last cost, but it does affect your average cost. And whether or not you enable include in cost also affects some reporting. In other words, if you enable include in cost, you get a little bit better reporting on your miscellaneous charges and purchasing. Point of sale, same place, setup system, quick setup, point of sale. Now, these profiles are for capturing capturing sale information on the fly. And again, you have codes, alphanumeric, dates, and numeric. And as you enable these profile fields, Counterpoint behind the scenes is creating a sales report under sales analysis by group specific to the profile field. Miscellaneous charges. This is for charges we charge our customers at point of sale over and above the merchandise. Now, when you enable miscellaneous charges here, you have another step to go through. One thing to know, especially about profile fields, is that you can actually enable the profile field to automatically pop up as soon as you sign into point of sale. Or you could manually navigate to a profile button to fill out the profile page. When it comes to miscellaneous charges, you actually have to go to Setup, Point of Sale, Stores, click on the Miscellaneous Charges tab, and manually enable the miscellaneous charge. This is what a pop-up looks like on the profile field. Now, if you have more than one profile field, this page will contain all the profile fields that you enabled. And then miscellaneous charges, if you have more than one miscellaneous charge enabled, when you click on the miscellaneous charge buttons at point of sale, you'll just have one page that will show all the miscellaneous charges. So in other words, there's not one button for gift wrap and a separate button for alterations. They all live on one page. So let's just hop into the software and take a look at all this. So I'm just going to open up Counterpoint, and I'm going to go to Setup, Inventory, Setup System, Quick Setup, and I'm going to go ahead and click on my Items tab. So you can see I have set up and enabled some code profiles. When you are entering these label names, I find that 20 characters fits really well on a page. Any label name over 20 character tends to fall off the page, so about 20. Now, if you want to add to your list, you can just click on this codes here, click on add, and then just add more selections to the list. So I've just entered a profile code, just free type it, press my enter key, and click on description. And then fill out the description. You can also add to the list on the fly, and I'll show you how to do that later. So you can see I filled out an alphanumeric field, there's a date profile field, there's a numeric field, and then my enabled attributes. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK, and we're going to go look at an item record. So I'm just going to go to Inventory and Items, and I'm just going to find my demo item. So if I go to the Description tab, here are my attributes. Now if I want to add to the list on the fly, I can do that right here through the item. So if I click on this magnifying glass, click on Add, I'm just going to free type what the new attribute is, press my Enter key, and then type in a description. And save. And so now I've added a new fabric to this item. I'm going to change it back to cotton. Now when I go to the Profile tab, here are my code profiles. I can tell they're code profiles because there's a magnifying glass. Here is my alphanumeric profile where I can free type. Here is my date profile, and again, month, day, year. And here is that numeric profile that I said Counterpoint treats kind of like money. So notice when I put in a value here and press enter, it automatically enters a decimal followed by several zeros. A benefit of enabling profiles and attributes is that it can be leveraged in your table views, your lookups, and your filters. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm just going to come here, I'm going to save this first. And I'm just going to come here to the table view. Now you can actually add those profiles and attributes to the table view. I'm just going to right click and go to my column designer. And I'm just going to find fabric. And there it is. And I'm just going to double click on it. By the way, everything I do is a left click unless I say right click. I'm going to find exposure. I'm going to double click on it. So now when I click OK, it's added those columns to my table view. Now if I want to filter by either my attributes or my profiles, I can just come to the filter. I can customize the filter by right-clicking, selecting Customize. I'm just going to click right on Subcategory to get a drop-down list. I'm going to type an F on my keyboard for Fabric. And now I'm going to simplify the filter by right-clicking and Simplify. And I'm just going to filter for the fabric cotton and click OK. And now I have every item in my inventory attached to the attribute of cotton. You can do the same thing in your lookups as well. And the lookups are a little bit friendlier when it comes to printing and exporting. So I'm going to go into the lookup here. Here's my default lookup. I'm just going to come to Options and Column Designer. And again, I'm just going to type a F, find my fabric, maybe put the exposure. I think there's another one in here for, let's see, what else do we have here? I think I had one for the last, not the last cost, but the first cost. Let's do first cost. That was one of my profile fields. And OK. So now I've added these attributes and profile fields to my lookup. And just like in the table view, I can filter for these values. So if I click on Filter and customize the filter, right-click, Customize. I'm just going to use this subcategory drop-down, type an F on my keyboard. Now I'm going to simplify the filter and use it by right-clicking and Simplify. And I'm going to choose the fabric cotton. And I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to go ahead and preview. And then from the preview, I can always export by using this envelope, choosing a format that I want to export to. So this gives you a lot more choices than the table view does. The table view will only export to a CSV. Your lookups you can export to any of these applications as long as you have them installed. And then I can also choose a destination. But the real bonus is in that sales reporting, by enabling the profiles and attributes. So it's only one report that it affects. So this is the one and only. Under Sales History, Reports, Sales Analysis by Group. So if I use this drop down and I scroll down here to items, you can see here's my fabric report, here's my exposure report, here's my first cost report. And they were just automatically built by virtue of enabling those profile fields. So I'm going to choose fabric, and I'm going to have Counterpoint run year to date what I've sold with the attribute fabric. So when I preview, I can see I have sales for denim, I have sales for cotton. This NA are sales that I ran year to date that were not attached to any type of fabric attribute. That's why it says NA. And I'm going to go ahead and exit from here. Maybe. If I can get to my file. There we are. Okay, next I'm going to talk about customer profiles. And you'll see a lot of consistencies here. So I'm going to go to Setup, System, Quick Setup, and I'm going to go to the Customers. So I've enabled birth month, and again, if I want to add another month here, I'm just going to click on Codes. I'm going to click on Add. I'm just going to free type in a code, press my Enter key, type in a description, and save. And you can also do this on the fly through the customer record, just like we did through the item. So I enabled some alphanumeric fields. These are the freeform fields, and a date field. So now I'm just going to close out of here, and we're going to go take a look at the customer record. So I'm just going to go to Customers and Customers, and I'm going to find my demo customer. And here, if I go to Profiles, you can see my code profile because it has a magnifying glass, my freeform fields, and my date field. And just like with items, I can leverage these fields in a table view, a lookup, and a filter. So if I go to Table View and right-click, Customize, and here's Anniversary, and here's my birth month. I'm just going to click on OK. Well, let's get jacket size too. So I'll do jacket size and OK. So now I've added these columns to my table view. Now if I want to filter down maybe to all birthdays in July, I can come to the filter. I can customize the filter by right-clicking, selecting Customize. I'm just going to click here on Category so I get a drop-down, type a B on my keyboard, select Birth Month. Now I'm going to simplify the filter by right-clicking, simplifying, and I'm going to choose July as the birth month. And now I have a list. Right-click and export data, and it'll export to CSV. But that's my only option. Okay, now in a lookup, I can go to the lookup, do the same thing, go to Options, Column Designer, find my birth month. And here's a little hint when you're selecting a hidden column. If you just click on one element and type the first letter of the column you're looking for, Counterpoint will jump you down to that part of the list. You can only type the first letter. So it jumped me down to the B, so all I have to do is just go down a couple more lines. And I'll just click OK. Now again, I can customize a filter to filter for all my July birthdays, but I'm already in a filtered view. So let me close that. Let me clear the filter real quick. So I'll just clear it. And we'll go back to the lookup, re-add the birth month, column designer, highlight something, type a B, double click on birth month. Now I'm going to customize my filter by going to Filter, because I want to send all my July birthday customers maybe a little coupon or a little card to wish them a happy day. So I'm going to right-click my filter, go to Customize. I'm going to click here to add a condition, and it just brings over a random condition when I do that. But it's in red, so I'll just click right on that red, type a B, select birth month. Now I'm going to simplify the filter, and I'm going to select July. There it is, and OK. And so now when I preview, I have a list of all my July birthdays. And then, of course, from here, I can export. But the real payoff is in sales reporting. So I'm going to close out of here. And again, just by enabling those fields, I automatically get these sales reports. Sales history, reports, sales analysis by group. So if I use this drop-down, you can see here's my anniversary report, here's my birth month report, but I'm interested in jacket size today. I want to know my sales by jacket size year to date. So I'm going to choose this report. I'm going to preview it. And so I can see I sold this size MD123 and I collected over $2,000. My large, I got $30. And NA, again, these are sales that I made where I did not have an attribute of jacket on the customer record. Okay, and I'll just exit from here. Next, let's talk about purchasing. So I'm going to go to Setup, and I'm going to go to System and Quick Setup. And I'm going to click on Purchasing. Now remember, this is for profile fields on the vendor record itself. So again, we have the same code profiles, alphanumeric, dates, and numeric. But here's where you can actually enable miscellaneous charges that will appear on your purchase request, your receivings, and your purchasing adjustments. And it's pretty easy. You just click on a field here, enable it, give it some type of label. We'll call it setup phase. Okay. Oh, come on back here. Let's see. Because I've been playing with this field today, this is grayed out. But here's one. Let's do this. Let's forget this one here because I have been playing with that a lot today. But this is normally what happens when you enable a field. The display label clears up. Please setup fee. And the account also becomes editable. So again, if I'm interfacing to a general ledger, I want to go into this lookup, find the correct account for setup fees, maybe even have to add it. And if I add it here in Counterpoint, I have to add it in my general ledger as well. If I'm not integrating to a general ledger, you can pick anything, it doesn't matter, but Counterpoint does require an account. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. Now that I've enabled the miscellaneous charges, when I go to purchasing, purchase request, or receivings, enter, or purchase adjustments, and I'm going to do this under receiving, I'm actually going to have a new tab here called miscellaneous charges. And when I click on it, I'll see the fields that I enabled. Now, a little bit earlier during the PowerPoint presentation, I talked about including cost. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm going to just go back down here to Setup, Purchasing, Purchasing Control, and I'm going to click on Miscellaneous Charges. And remember I enabled Miscellaneous Charge 4, and see how Counterpoint automatically enabled it here? But what Counterpoint doesn't automatically enable is including cost. So if you include in cost, then in this example, any freight I attach to a receiving, when I post that receiving, Counterpoint's going to take that freight amount and roll it across the items on the receiving. Now that doesn't affect my last cost. My last cost is still my last cost, but that freight will be factored into my averaged cost. And let me show you what I mean about the reporting on this. Because if I uncheck this, it makes the reporting different. So I'm going to close out of here. And let's go into purchasing. And we'll go to reports. And I'm just going to go to a history report and a receiving history report. So I'm going to show you a receiving where I had Counterpoint including cost. So it's just this top event here. And I'll just preview it. So when I include in cost, oh, that's the wrong event. Oh, you know what? I forgot to enable a switch. That was the right event. Let me go here. Now I'm going to enable this switch print miscellaneous charge detail. That's very important. So I'll click on preview. There we go. So you can see here's my freight charge, here's my rush order fee. Now notice how they're different amounts. So what Counterpoint does is it looks at the cost of the item and it awards a portion of the miscellaneous charges based on the cost of the item. So you can see here the total miscellaneous charge is $25. But for this item that was $160, Counterpoint assigned $11.94 of that 25 to this item. And out of that $11.94, $478 was assigned to freight and the rush order $716. This item was more expensive, so it got a bigger portion of the freight of $13 and a bigger portion of freight here and rush order. Now, if I didn't have that switch enabled, include in cost, I'll just exit. Even though I have print miscellaneous charge detail enabled, I'll show you what happens to a receiving I did where include in cost was not enabled. So I'll just click OK and I'll preview. And you can see that there's a miscellaneous charge, but there's no breakout of the different miscellaneous charges. So if you're the type of business that does not include miscellaneous charges in your cost, you might say, well, how can I see that breakout? You know, because the receiving history is just showing it all lumped together. There is a way. It's not real elegant, but it'll get you the information you need. So I'm just going to start at the beginning here. What you'll need to do is you'll need to go to Purchasing, Views, and View Receiving History. Now, ultimately, we're going to go to the table view. But remember, this is a history table. So if you go straight to the table view, you're going to get your receiving history from the dawn of time. And if you've had Counterpoint a long time, that might take a really long time to load. So filter first. So I'm going to filter, and I'm going to filter month to date. Now that I've filtered, I'm going to go to Table View. Now in Table View, on the top half of the screen, you can right-click and go into your column designer and choose your miscellaneous charges. But Counterpoint does something a little weird with the wording here. You know, we called the miscellaneous charge freight, and we called it rush order. But in the column designer, it's called current freight amount and current rush order amount. But this is how you can see your miscellaneous charges broken out, even at the document level. And you can even add something called total miscellaneous charges, or maybe it's current total miscellaneous charges. Current, well, there's my setup fee. Here it is, current total miscellaneous. That way they add up across nicely. Now, remember we enabled the profile fields, and I said those affect the vendor record. So if you want to see the profile fields on the vendor record, Purchasing, Vendors, and I think I have a demo vendor here. I do. So when I go to the Profile tab, here's my code profile, here's a date profile, and another date profile. And the same thing that we saw with items and with customers. I can go to my table view and add those columns to my table view. I can go to my lookup and add those columns to my lookup. And within the table view and within the lookup, I can customize the filter to filter on those values. But enabling the profile fields in purchasing does not give me any extra sales reporting. Customers and items, yes. Purchasing, no. Now for point of sale, I'm going to go to Setup, System, Quick Setup. And I'm going to come to point of sale. These profile fields are to capture information about the sale on the fly as the sale is being created. Same rules. We can have codes where we have a list to choose from. We have alphanumeric where they are freeform. We have date profiles, month, day, year. And then down here, we can actually enable miscellaneous charges, just like we did in purchasing, and it follows the same rules. Enable the field, give it a label. Let's call this, well, we have delivery, gift wrap alterations. Let's just call it rush order. We charge for rush orders. Then I need to select an account. If you're integrated to an accounting program, select the proper account. If you're not, you still have to select an account, as Counterpoint requires that. And I'll just click on OK. Now, once you have those set up, there is some manual work you need to do in another area of Counterpoint. So I'm going to go to Setup, Point of Sale, Stores, and I'm going to find my main store. So if you have multiple stores and you want to enable the profiles or the automatic pop-up or the miscellaneous charge, you have to do it for each store. So if I go to Profiles right here, here are all my profiles that I've enabled. And then I also enabled this switch called Prompt for Profile Fields, which means anytime somebody logs into Point of Sale, a page is going to pop up with all these enabled fields to capture information. When it comes to miscellaneous charges, Counterpoint does not automatically enable these fields like it does in purchasing. You manually have to enable them. So I just set up a miscellaneous charge 4 for rush order. See how it's not enabled? So I just have to click on it to enable it. Oh, and then save when I'm done. So I'm going to log into Point of Sale and show you how the profile fields and miscellaneous charges work. So I'm going to go to Point of Sale, Tickets, Touchscreen, and I'll just sign in. And there's my profile fields. So there's my code profile, here's my alphanumerics, here's my date profile. Now, if you don't log in for each ticket, then you're going to need to teach your associates how to actually manually bring up the profile field. Or if you log in for each ticket, and this drives everyone crazy because it's the first thing that pops up, you can turn off that automatic prompt and just teach your people how to find the button to manually enter the information. So I'm just going to click on OK. So if I go to More, Ticket Functions, Profile Codes, there they are right there. Now that's a lot of clicking. So what I would do if I were using profile fields in my store is I would go into my touchscreen designer and I would take this profile code button and I would just copy it out to my main page, which is what I did in this install. Here it is right here. Same is true with miscellaneous charges. You can teach people to go to More, Ticket Functions, Miscellaneous Charge, and there they are. Or you can take that button in your touchscreen designer and just copy it to your main page, which is what I did. So if I go home, here's my miscellaneous charges button. There it is. Now the real payoff to enabling those profile fields is that sales reporting. Because just like with customers and just like with items, when you enable profile fields for point of sale, Counterpoint's creating a sales report specific to that profile field. So let's go take a look. Sales history, reports, and I'm just going to go to sales analysis by group. Again, this is the only report where this happens. And I'm going to use this drop down and I'm going to scroll down to where it says ticket history. So you can see in ticket history, here is, I want to get my bike one. So I want to see, here's my report for bikes. So again, this is one of my alphanumeric fields. So I want to see year-to-date sales by bike type. And so I'll just come down here and preview. And so you can see I've had sales for the Stingray, for the Schwinn, for the Red Ryder, the Huffy, a dirt bike, and then NA are sales that I made where I did not capture bike information through the profile field on the fly. I'll tell you another really useful profile field is zip code. So at the beginning of the sale or sometime during the sale, somebody can say, so what zip code are you from? That report's going to be really helpful in kind of a demographic analysis where you can find out where your traffic is coming from. Now, I did create a zip code profile field. It was an alphanumeric field. Zip code I like capturing in the alphanumeric because in the numeric field, remember Counterpoint puts the decimal in zeros. So if you're capturing zip code in a numeric, it's going to be the zip code decimal 0000. So that's why I put that in the alphanumeric one. So I do have a zip code one down here, right there. So I want to see year to date what zip codes my customers are coming from. So when I preview, I can see I've got 2 zip codes they're pulling from, and NA are sales that I rang where the zip code information was not captured on the fly. Now, what about miscellaneous charges? Counterpoint doesn't have any report that comprehensively shows you all your miscellaneous charges on one report. Now, you can run a drawer history to see miscellaneous charges, but the drawer history doesn't break out if you have more than one. It just lumps them all together. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to come here and go to point of sale, and I'm going to go to reports, and I'm going to go to history, and I'm just going to run my drawer history report month to date. And I just want to get a big grand total, so I'm going to uncheck all these switches, and I'm just going to enable report totals. Then I'll come here to event, and I'll put in month to date, and I'll click on preview. Okay, so here's my miscellaneous charges. I can see what I collected month to date, but I can't see, a difference between how much I collected for gift wrap, how much I collected for rush orders, how much I collected for alterations. So there is a workaround, just like in purchasing, not elegant, but it's there, and at least you get the information you need. So you're going to go to sales history, you're going to click on views, and you're going to go to view ticket history. And again, this is all your history from the dawn of time. So don't go straight to the table view. Filter first. So I'm going to filter, and I'm going to filter month to date. Let my filter run. When it's done, then I'm going to go to table view. And once I'm in table view, I can use my column designer and add my miscellaneous charge columns. And I also added one for total miscellaneous charges so I could make sure they're adding across or that I captured all of them. Because if there's a discrepancy between total and these columns, it might mean I missed adding a column. So that is profiles, attributes, and miscellaneous charges. So let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation, and I'll just view from the present slide. Okay, so your takeaways today, hopefully at the end here, you understand how to enable a profile field, an attribute, and miscellaneous charges in purchasing and point of sale. You know how to add a code profile to the list either through the quick setup or on the item record or on the customer record on the fly. And how to enter information when you get that pop-up at point of sale to enter the profiles. And of course, the reporting that goes along with it when it comes to customers' items in point of sale. And remember, that's only one report, sales analysis by group. So I always appreciate your feedback and topic suggestions. I am looking for topic suggestions for next year. So on Friday, when you get a copy of your video, or Monday at the latest, there will be a survey attached. You can remain anonymous, and you can also put your suggestions in there. Or if you want to go directly to our website to fill out the survey, it's www.cksystem.com/training bites with a Y, training bites survey. Next month, this is going to be exciting. The training bites next month will be on Wednesday, July 14th, because the first Wednesday of the month falls on a holiday week. So we are actually going to talk about dropship customer orders. Not everybody knows that this feature even exists. It came out a couple of years ago in a service pack. And with a dropship customer order, I love this feature. Your customers can come to the store, maybe you're out of an item. And with this dropship feature, you can have the item shipped directly to the customer from the vendor, saving your customer a second trip to the store to pick up the item. So it's pretty handy, especially if you are order heavy and you want things to ship directly from the vendor to your customers. So don't forget to sign up. Okay, if you want training tailored to your particular business, because what I do on these webinars kind of appeals to the masses and it's very generalized, give me a call at the toll-free number, extension 3, and we can always set up a custom training one-on-one just for your business. Okay, and with that, I will take questions. So let me check my little question queue here. This is a very good question. I'm not understanding why you would use a miscellaneous charge in POS instead of it being an item. And I do have people that make miscellaneous charges items. The challenge is it shows up as a merchandise sale when you run your reports. And technically, a miscellaneous charge is not merchandise. And here, I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me close out of here and go back into Counterpoint. And I'm just going to go to point of sale, reports, and history. I'm just going to run that drawer history report again just to show you what I mean. It's totally up to you. I mean, it's not wrong. There is no wrong or right here. It's just technically a miscellaneous charge isn't merchandise. So I'm just going to come here to event, and I'll just do month to date. But thank you for asking that question. It's really good. So if you make the item, or if you make the miscellaneous charge an item, it shows under here instead of being separated out here. So that's the difference. And if that doesn't bother you, then by all means, make it an item. Just make sure it's a non-inventory item. Okay, real good question. Any other questions? Okay, it looks like I don't have any other questions. Well, as always, thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully I see you again on July 14th for customer dropship orders. Everyone have a great afternoon. Thanks again.